It's been well over a year since the Fife Circle line came to Train Sim World, and Rivet Games have finally released the first add-on as their own product since the aforementioned Scottish route. Since then, they've apparently been helping dovetail with some of their UK routes, like WCML South and Cardiff City Network, instead of going back and fixing the issues that still plague their notoriously low-quality add-ons, such as the Arosa line and West Cornwall Local. Anyway, Rivet's newest add-on is yet another gameplay pack instead of something more substantial, but I was still curious to try it out because it includes something I've wanted to see in the game for a long time. The West Midlands Railway and Cross Country Class 170 add-on was released on the 29th of July 2025, as the second to last add-on in the TSW5 era. Insert a rant about Dovetail's ridiculous practice of annual releases here. I bought this pack on Steam, where its full price is fairly steep at £13, or 25 New Zealand dollars. You could get at least 13 packs of 10 Tesco garlic bread slices for that same price. There's not much included in the pack, just the Class 170 Turbostar, which we already had with Fife Circle, albeit in two new liveries, namely Cross Country and West Midlands Railway, as an addition to Dovetail's Cross City Line route add-on of November 2022. Personally, I would have preferred to see the Class 196 made for TSW instead of the Turbostar, but I suppose the older unit is more appropriate for the Cross City Line's time period. It's a pity the route's not set in 2025, in which case, the developers could have added the Class 196 as well as 170-101, the first refurbished 170 in Cross Country's fleet. In any case, the nearest I got to riding a train on the real Cross City line was a round of train spotting at Sally Oak on the 19th of April, although this was long after the Class 323s had been replaced by Class 730 Aventras. These new 170 variants are not just reskins of the existing ScotRail variant that comes with Fife Circle. There have been some alterations to the model, like the older Addertrans headlight clusters on the West Midlands and Cross Country units, the removal of first class seating on the WMR unit, and some small in-cab detail differences between the WMR and XC variants. Two of Cross Country's units, namely 170-397 and 170-398, are fitted with the newer headlight type, and I think Rivet missed a trick by not including them in this pack. Incidentally, the ScotRail 170 in TSW still has the issue of displaying the wrong unit numbers for the headlight cluster type that's been modelled. Knowing Rivet, I doubt this will ever be fixed. When I first saw the 170 add-ons announcement, I was both surprised and disappointed at the same time. Disappointed because, as I said earlier, it's been well over a year since the TSW add-on was last released as a Rivet Games product, so of course, the first thing they make since Fife Circle is only a ruddy gameplay pack. Meanwhile, the Arosa line, West Cornwall Local, and S-Bahn Central Schweiz are still rotting in their graves, with various issues that still haven't been fixed after all this time. As for why I was surprised, that's because, even though I wanted to see the West Midlands Class 170 in TSW for a long time, I didn't think that would ever actually happen. On the subject of West Midlands Railway, I would still like to see the line from Birmingham Snow Hill to Kidderminster, plus the Stourbridge Town branch, added to TSW at some point. As for motive power, The route would have to include the Class 139 Parry People Mover and Class 172 Turbostar. I would prefer to see all 4 variants of the 172 included, not just the gangway-equipped 172-2 and 172-3. Now that I've got some footage of Class 170s in real life, I can do a sound comparison between the real thing and her TSW counterpart. One of the reasons why Rivet Games has such a poor reputation in the TSW community is the fact that, historically, they have done a poor job when it comes to the sounds on their trains. Case in point, the Class 150-2 that comes with West Cornwall Local. Personally, I think the Class 170 is one of their better trains when it comes to audio, but there is still room for improvement, especially where the scream of the MTU prime movers is concerned. As for any bugs I noticed on Rivet's new pack, there's the in-cab unit number not matching the external number on the West Midlands unit, one instance where no NPCs got on my train at Birmingham New Street, so I left with a completely empty train, the AWS doesn't work, even when the isolation switch is set to normal, and there's absolutely no track running sounds on both WMR and XC units. Another overpriced product complete with issues that should have been fixed prior to release. That's our Rivet! Also, look at these magical colour-changing benches at Birmingham New Street. Rivet's new add-on also includes a new timetable for the cross-city line, which makes the route feel much busier than it was with the default timetable. However, there are only 58 playable services for the West Midlands 170 and 31 for the cross-country 170. The rest are AI-only services running off the map. It's interesting to note that cross-country services don't stop at Bromsgrove in real life, but they do stop there in the game. Otherwise, they would only be playable for 6 minutes, between University and Birmingham New Street. As part of the new timetable mode for the cross-city line, we finally have the Class 350-1 and Class 390 units present at Birmingham New Street and Lichfield Trent Valley, but why it took so damn long for these layers to be added is anyone's guess. In any case, the TSW version of the Class 350 Desiro is included with Dovetail's WCML London to Milton Keynes route, while the Class 390 is sold separately, because of course she is. See my updated review of the route if you want to hear why I'm frustrated over the Pendolino being sold separately. Also seen as a timetable mode layer at Birmingham New Street is the Class 150 from Cardiff City Network. While Transport for Wales does indeed run a service through Birmingham in real life, it's not operated by Class 150s. Instead, Class 158s are used, as they're the only TFW units equipped with ERTMS, and I think the in-game layer should have been omitted given the lack of realistic motive power available for the service. The Class 170 doesn't handle the Lickey incline anywhere near as well as the Class 323, because there's not a lot of space between Bromsgrove Station and the foot of the 1 in 37 incline. As a result, the Turbostar hasn't got much time to build up speed before the climb to Blackwell, and once on the incline, there's little to no chance of accelerating until you reach the top of the hill. Speaking of the Lickey incline, I would love to see a steam-era version of this route, preferably with the coverage extended south of Bromsgrove, and also complete with that whacking great big 010 tender engine known as Big Bertha. Cross Country uses their 170s on the Cardiff Central to Nottingham service, small parts of which can be explored in TSW outside the Cross City line, namely between Derby and Nottingham on Skyhook's Midland Main Line, and at Cardiff Central Station on Dovetail's Cardiff City network. Much to my frustration, the Class 170 doesn't have a timetable mode layer on either route, and the only way to run this unit on the Midland Main Line or Cardiff City network is by using the scenario editor or free roam. Not helping the situation is the West Midlands and Cross Country units' lack of automatic announcements, something that was present on the ScotRail 170.
We'll soon arrive at Cameron Bridge. Don't forget to take your belongings with you before you leave the train.
In conclusion, I'm not sure whether or not I can recommend Rivet Games' new Class 170 add-on to other TSW5 players. As much as I like seeing the West Midlands and Cross Country variants in the game at last, it doesn't change my belief that this pack presents poor value for money, which isn't helped by the limited usefulness of these units. Unless you use them on other routes in free roam or the scenario editor, they're essentially restricted to only running on the short section of the Cross City line between Birmingham New Street and Bromsgrove, and that section is only 14 miles long. The Class 170 pack would be much better if Rivet added the missing 170/1 variant, upgraded the sounds, and set up the cross-country units with layers on the Midland Main Line and Cardiff City network. But as for how I'd rate Rivet's new Class 170 pack in its current state, I think it deserves a 5.5 out of 10. As for Train Sim World 6 and the frustrations surrounding annual releases, I sometimes feel like we've just, as Tony Basil once sang, got to push and make it past the pain. For reference, that's a line from her little-known song, Go for the Burn, which appears on her self-titled second album of 1983. Come to think of it, now that the cross-country license has come back, perhaps we could get the Class 220 and Class 221 Voyagers in TSW someday, but preferably not developed by Rivet.